Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your source for Black news, views, and opinions. Today is Monday, January 10th, 2022. I'm Seth Lemon.
Peace and love. I'm Nielle.
I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, big wins at the Golden Globes for Black actors, despite no celebrities attending. Kyle Bowser from the NAACP joins us to discuss his address to the Hollywood Foreign Press. And former First Lady Michelle Obama wants your help. We have the details on how you can get involved with her new campaign.
Plus, some states are changing rules for healthcare workers who test positive for COVID-19. A rare work by Toni Morrison will soon hit bookstore shelves, and the IRS is now watching how much you spend through mobile payment apps.
There's a lot to talk about today, so let's get to it because it's our voice and our truth.
The show must go on, and it did. Despite having no red carpet pre-show, no presenters, and no live streaming ceremony, the Golden Globes were big for Black actors this year as they clinched some big wins. Will Smith claiming the award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama for his performance in King Richard. The veteran actor's performance in the Venus and Serena Williams biopic, it stunned audiences across the world, and the Hollywood Foreign Press Association clearly agreed. Michaela J. Rodriguez won Best Performance by an Actress in a Television Series for her role on the FX show Pose. MJ Rodriguez makes history, becoming the first transgender person ever to win a Golden Globe. Moonlight director Barry Jenkins won for Best Limited Series for Amazon Prime's The Underground Railroad. An honorable mention, we've got to mention Encanto, which claimed Best Animated Motion Picture, and West Side Story, which won Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. Now, all of these wins, they come as the HFPA attempts to make overdue changes. NBC announced last summer the network would not air the 22 Globes after learning that not one of the association's roughly 90 voting members is Black. Now, coming up, Kyle Bowser from the NAACP's Hollywood Bureau is going to join us. Bowser addressed a select group of attendees at the Globes this year, updating their joint effort with the civil rights group to increase diversity and representation in film. And we'll talk with him just ahead in our next half hour. They've got this 5-year deal that they're working with, the NAACP and the HFPA, to really increase diversity and representation for Black actors, for Latino actors, all across the spectrum. And it's simply wild to think that in 2020, we found out that of the 90 members, not one of them was Black.
That was very interesting. I believe we covered that story here on Fox Soul's Black Report as well. And so what I really want to go back to is MJ Rodriguez. So amazing. First off, Pose is just one of the most amazing shows. And so she got on live recently. And so literally everybody's been talking about her win online. So she got on live and she just talked about, she thanked the Golden Globes and said how beautiful this was for members of the LGBTQIA community, the Black community, the Latino community, and just how big this was. And I could feel all the passion in her voice. So I'm just happy for everyone who was a winner.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. At the end of the day, a lot of times I don't watch these award shows because I feel like we're not represented enough on them. We don't win enough. So I'm glad they got it right this year. And maybe it took what they did last year to force their hands to do something like this. But when you think about it, King Richard, an amazing movie. So we know that hands down. But I am glad these winners got their awards.
You know, and even some people from other communities, Oh Young-soo, he was Korea's first Golden Globe winner as well. That's from Squid Game. Everyone was talking about Squid Game, so I have to give them an honorable mention as well because that show was amazing.
Yeah, diversity across the board, and it's great to see all kinds of Black, all kinds of people being represented at these awards.
Absolutely. A malfunctioning space heater may be responsible for the deaths of 17 people, including 8 children, after a horrific blaze at a Bronx apartment building. The flames broke out around 11 o'clock yesterday morning at the Twin Park Apartments in the Bronx. About 200 firefighters responded to the scene, and officials say the fire started on the 2nd and the 3rd floors. A crucial door was left open and smoke spread to all 19 stories.
Let's jump into our political news for the day. Coming off an appearance on Blackish, former First Lady Michelle Obama has launched a push to get 1 million people newly registered to vote ahead of the 22 midterm elections. Now, in a statement on Sunday, Obama said her foundation, When We All Vote, along with 30 other organizations, will recruit and train at least 100,000 volunteers to register voters. When We All Vote has partnered with the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, the Urban League, Rock the Vote, LeBron James's More Than a Vote, Stacey Abrams' Fair Fight, and a host of others. Now, the groups also aim to activate 100,000 people to contact senators about passing voting rights legislation and recruit thousands of lawyers to protect voting rights in the states where the freedom to vote is being threatened. This is huge. We know that the Obamas feel like the younger generation is where the hope of this country is, and that's why you're going to see a big push on college campuses, HBCUs, particularly to register voters. And this week, you're going to see a lot of call to actions from the Black community when it comes to voting. You're going to hear from the Congressional Black Caucus this week. You're going to hear from Black churches on Sunday are going to do a push. The King family on the King holiday on Monday is doing a call to action. And we can't forget about the pastors who are on a hunger strike. This is very important to the Black community. And as you can see, the call to action starts today.
It definitely is. We are gearing up once again. If you think about the states like Florida, Georgia, and Texas, how they're trying to suppress our vote, how they're trying to steal our vote, we have to do this. And it's important that we teach our young generation and either people our age saying this is what we need to do to make sure our vote is going to count. But let's make sure we don't get caught up in a situation where they say, nope, it's not going to work. So I applaud what they're doing here, and we have to keep this push. We just can't stop.
Yeah, I mean, we saw with Stacey Abrams how grassroots, we saw that grassroots actually works. I like that Michelle Obama also said that this is not new. These laws are not new. We've been fighting for this for decades. And so she said that we've had to persevere through different laws. And so we're just going to do it again. We're going to do the same thing. And I really like bringing Stacey Abrams back into the conversation because she really showed that grassroots, really getting your feet on the ground and touching people, that's the way to go. And so I'm happy that Michelle Obama is doing the same.
Folks like Michelle Obama and Stacey Abrams making these appeals, it really helps to bring people out. And one of the common themes that you always see is the advanced age of most of those who participate at election polling places, those who volunteer. You don't see too many young folks. Right. And so during the Obama campaign, I know I volunteered as an election poll judge. It also helps you to know and be able to verify the process when you're a part of it and see, since we had so many questions about the counting process. Right. I would love to see hundreds of thousands of young people get involved and go and volunteer to be a part of their elections, not just the presidential election, but the midterm elections, the local elections as well.
Exactly.
Except I couldn't agree with you more on that. All right, the funeral of 14-year-old Valentina Oriana Peralta, who was killed by a police officer's stray bullet while shopping with her mother at Burlington store in North Hollywood, was held today at the City Refuge Church, where the pastor is Bishop Noah Jones. Reverend Al Sharpton officiated and delivered the eulogy. Attorneys Ben Crump and Raul Ravapudi delivered a call to justice as well.
Students in Oakland are demanding the school district to do more to protect them from getting COVID-19. Hundreds of middle and high school students have publicly signed a list of demands addressed to the superintendent and school board. The online petition cites that the rising number of COVID-19 cases, they're fearing how contagious this Omicron variant actually has proven to be. In the letter, it reads, in order to ensure a safe learning environment, we demand you give us KN95 and N95 masks and weekly PCR testing. If these demands are not met, we will be striking by not attending school. We will be striking until we get what we need to feel safe. Students say if their demands are not met within the next week, the group of nearly 300 will not attend school beginning next Tuesday. Oakland teachers organized a sick out on Friday, protesting in-person classes. 500 teachers called out sick, forcing 12 schools to close. This is interesting, of course, coming off the heels of how we felt about Chicago public schools, where they're fighting to be in school. They're fighting to have classes, and you have Oakland like, hey, we're fighting just to be safe right now. If it seems like everybody, that's the tone of teachers, students, parents, everyone just wants to be safe. And so what I thought was interesting is the weekly PCR test. They want a PCR test twice a week, which I'm like, that, I don't know, that's a large demand, but also it's like 500 people coming together. When that amount of people come together, this has to be looked into.
the situation's very different in different states, you know, because of the protections that are in place in California, which surprisingly we forget vary from state to state, mask requirements and testing. These students are taking it into their own hands and saying, look, we want to be safe. We're tired of seeing our friends getting sick. We're tired of seeing our teachers getting sick. And of course, at that young age, when you're losing people potentially in your family, that friends of family, that's a lot to deal with. The kids in school have had a lot to process in terms of mental health, and it's great to see them taking action.
I definitely agree with that. And with my son starting back school this week, of course, as parents, we have concern as well. So I think it depends on where you're at, because, again, sometimes we feel like the information that we're getting, how to handle if someone does test positive, how long they should quarantine. The teachers are concerned about being there with the students. And some of the parents would love to have the option of just Zooming from homeschool, Zoom from home, are the option to go. So if we can do that, maybe we can kind of like downsize some of the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. That's concerning for all parents, Romeo, you're right. Skeptics are questioning whether New York City Mayor Eric Adams hiring his brother for a top job in the country's biggest police department is a case of nepotism. Bernard Adams is expected to join the NYPD as a deputy police commissioner, reporting directly to Commissioner Sewell, the first woman and black woman to run the department. Adams retired as an NYPD sergeant in 2006 and has reportedly managed a Virginia University's transportation department since then. It's unclear how much he'll be paid, but deputy commissioners typically make more than $200,000 a year. Mayor Adams also appointed a former NYPD department chief to be deputy mayor of public safety Friday. Now, this is despite him resigning amid corruption allegations nearly a decade ago. So New York City now has a black mayor, a black female police commissioner, and it's interesting with two black people at the helm overall for the city to see these questions of character, of integrity, and with two controversial hires, I don't know if his first week in office needed to be clouded by this kind of thing.
Absolutely. It did not need to be. When I first saw this, I chuckled a little bit because, you know, we always say, hey, when I get in, I'm going to make sure I take care of you. Everyone has a friend. Like my friend told me the other day, like, when I get in, I got you. I'm taking care of you. But also, it's just like, it really, if I was in New York, and I love to see us, right? Meaning us, I love to see us moving up and pulling on our people. But like you said, there's already been so many conversations about Bernard Adams and why he left in the first place that this kind of just feels like, I don't know, it would make me, if I was in New York, feel like, was he hired because he's your brother, or was he hired because he was the best person for the job?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I agree at the end of the day. I'll say, I feel kind of 50-50 on this. You want to take care of home. If they're qualified, give them the opportunity. Although it's probably not a great look, definitely since like it's someone so close to you as that. But at the end of the day, we're going to see how this plays out. But it's a lot of things going on in New York, so he has to be careful on how he's moving forward and how he's handling situations there, because trust me, everyone has all eyes on him.
Yeah, all eyes are on him. A South Carolina state lawmaker wants the smell of marijuana to no longer count as probable cause for law enforcement to stop and search. Rep. Dion Tedder, a Charleston Democrat, believes the legislation would benefit minorities as well as hemp farmers who legally engage in growing despite marijuana still being illegal in the state. Now, Tedder says the bill would not prevent police from searching a vehicle of someone who appears to be under the influence, but he argues the smell alone is not enough to be considered an illegal act. Anyone familiar with the scent of marijuana knows it lingers. Now, researchers show that although marijuana use is equal among blacks and whites, black people are 3.5 times more likely than white people to be arrested of possession. Yes, that is a fact that we do know. Al Harrington, who is a friend of Fox Soul's Black Report, has been on several times talking about the equity and fairness when it comes to marijuana. And it's not just being pulled over by the police, but it's also the equity that we're looking for as people of color when it comes to having some stake in the business of marijuana.
All right, the Wisconsin man charged with buying an assault-style rifle for Kyle Rittenhouse has taken a plea deal. Dominic Black was charged in November of 2020 with 2 counts of delivering a dangerous weapon to a minor, resulting in death. Black was 18 at the time of the gun purchase. Rittenhouse was 17. Black has now agreed to pay a $2,000 fine and plead no contest to lesser charges, avoiding the felony accounts.
Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, and more are just a few of the comedians who have been sending their condolences to their brother in comedy, Bob Saget. Authorities say the Full House star was found dead on Sunday in a hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, Florida. Detectives say they found no evidence of foul play or drug use. Saget was on tour performing stand-up at clubs in the area. He performed as recently as Saturday night. The sheriff's office says an autopsy will be done to determine how the 65-year-old died. I felt like this was America's uncle, like America's dad. This was such a sad story. Everyone was talking about this yesterday, and so what's always the most saddest part for me when someone passes away, celebrity, just any person, is when you hear that someone passes away, you go to their Instagram and they just posted, like, I think he had posted it just 15 hours ago. Yeah. And to see that there was no drug use and no foul play, it just really makes you wonder, well, what happened here? And I just really also feel bad for like the people that were acting with him, that this was his TV dad. How do they feel also? Because I'm sure there's a certain part of their heart that is also gone.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you think about it, he was 65. And years ago, that was considered being old. That was young. 65 years young, a huge loss. And just to see all the comedians and everyone reaching out and making statements about him just says how much he was loved and what he gave to the world of comedy.
Yeah, I make a habit sometimes of going to sleep watching old television shows. So last night I just happened to put on Full House because it's the whole thing is on HBO Max, and I just watched the pilot episode. I was reminded of how young they all were when they started that. How, you know, Mary-Kate and Ashley, they were tiny. They were a baby when they were playing that role, but a lot of millennials grew up on this, and so despite it being a predominantly white show, it was able to touch people's hearts and the things that they experienced. It transcended color so much so that we remember him fondly. We remember the whole show, and he will be missed.
Absolutely.